Hi guys, welcome back to my fucking show. This is Bath Time with Brielle. I'm Brielle and this is my bathtub. So it's a new week, which means we have a new bath bomb. This bitch right here is Golden Pear. Ooh, look at her, how voluptuous. She has cardamom oil, spiced fruits, and zesty orange oil. She smells delicious. So on this week's episode, we're talking about sex work. The first question is, I really want to try camming. What's the best way to start? Well, my friend. So you probably read a Vice article about some girl who's making $5,000 to $10,000 a week, but let me tell you, there's a lot of shit that goes into camming that you won't read in articles like that. First, do you have the time to devote to this? Cam girls are entrepreneurs. Like, you have to set a schedule for when you're going to be on. And it takes hours upon hours and days and weeks to actually build up the fan base to actually start making money. Secondly, do you have the entrepreneurial spirit to actually follow through and set a schedule? Are you going to be on the same time every night? Another thing, do you have the tools it takes? Do you have a nice webcam? Do you have any sex toys? Do you have the privacy of your own room? Do you have roommates? Do you have parents who are home who might hear you if you're trying to keep it private? Do you have your own graphic design skill? Another thing to consider is what kind of persona you want to take on. I suggest that you browse through a bunch of categories on the cam sites you want to join. Maybe you're interested in a certain fetish, or maybe you want to develop something new. It's up to you. It's kind of like just trying on different costumes and seeing what feels right. Another thing to consider is your safety. On a lot of these sites, you can block certain states or even countries of where you don't want people to see you. Another really important thing is protecting your privacy. So never telling people your real name or where you live, how old you are. You even have to pay attention to the little things, like the frames that are hung up in your room. Does that give away where you're from or who you are? Or your music streaming site, do you pay for that? Or are ads gonna pop up saying, hello, in Brooklyn, we're offering, you have to be really careful about that. You get paid in tokens on most sites, and most of those sites you get 5 cents per token. It takes a lot to make any money at all. Some trustworthy sites that always pay on time are Chatterbait, Live Jasmine, and Cam Soda. But yeah, with all of that considered, if you still feel like you want to do it, I encourage you to try it out. And it really pushes you to be the entrepreneur you know you are. Next question. Is it possible to have a sugar daddy without fucking him? You guys just crack me up. So what you're basically saying is you want the benefit of sex work without the sex. I mean, yeah, I guess that could happen, but I just want you to know that that's extremely rare. So one thing you can do is make yourself a cute little profile on Seeking Arrangements, and you could ask the people you meet up with to pay per date. And as long as you sort out the details of that they aren't expecting anything sexual in return for paying for the date, then maybe you can have a sugar daddy without having sex with them. But just know that's not what a lot of sugar daddies are looking for. Next question. Do strippers actually make a lot of money? The way rappers rap about giving strippers money, you would think that strippers do make a lot. But alas, we still live in a world where very few people actually respect sex workers. So, one thing that affects how much money you make if you're a dancer is where you live. Are you in a big city? Are you in a small town? Another thing that people don't realize is that a lot of dancers have pay-ins. So that means when you arrive to wherever you work, you have to pay to work. So usually depending on what time you get there, the earlier you may have to pay in just $80, but the later you get there, closer to midnight when most people are actually at the strip clubs, you can pay $100, $120, $150, it just keeps going up the later you arrive. So if you're working on the pole, you're probably just getting a lot of ones, which takes a long time to add up. But if you're a dancer who gives lap dances, you have to take into account the time it takes to talk to a person, to get to know them, to get them comfortable with actually giving them a lap dance. So you have to have your whole spiel, where are you from, and then they tell you about their wife and kids, blah, 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 blah. Believe it or not, a lot of people just go to strip clubs because they just want to talk. So you really have to balance like actually playing therapist and listening to your client. So typically the rate per song is like $20 and the songs last like 2 to 3 minutes. My advice to anyone who wants to go to a strip club, just please don't go if you're too broke to go. Don't go if you just want the experience of seeing someone dance. Go if you can actually afford it. Go if you could actually tip the people who are dancing. And the last question is, what's the best way to support sex workers? So number one, which I have already mentioned, is paying them. Another thing you could do is help break down the stigma by not calling people prostitutes, instead using the term sex worker, and just recognizing that sex work is work. A very important thing to know, you may have heard of it, FOSTA SESTA, 2 bills that Congress passed. So basically what the bills do are they hold the websites accountable for promoting the prostitution of another person. So not only does that take away from a lot of self-promotion of a lot of sex workers, but also it tears down the safety net that a lot of sex workers have worked really hard to build. And some of that includes like a bad client list, like people who are dangerous and you shouldn't go to. So overall, these bills are super vague and they say they're for anti-sex trafficking, but in reality, it just really, really hurts a lot of sex workers. So one thing you could do is just learn the facts. You could also call your representative, tell them you don't stand for FOSTA SESTA, and tell them that'll affect your future votes. Another thing you could do is if you know a sex worker, pay them. So if you know someone, just give them money without even asking for anything in return. You can also visit thesexworkersproject.org. You can donate there and you can learn even more about how to protect sex workers. That's it for today's episode. I hope you all have learned a lot today. I love this bath bomb. My water is like peach and milky and it smells delightful and I love it. I hope everyone has a beautiful week. I'll see you next time on Bath Time with Brielle. And remember, sex work is work.